grew up in Gilbertsville, New York, an odd little village in the Butternut Valley of Otsego County. When my family arrived in the early 50s, it had three churches, Episcopal, Presbyterian, and Baptist, three gas stations, Shell, Esso, and Sinclair, and one bar. Locals referred to it as the hotel. The reason for the emphasis on the first syllable is lost to history. One reached it via a gravel path through the garden on the east side of the Empire House, a one-time inn that had been converted to apartments and a restaurant. Eddie, a compact, powerfully built Scot, ran the place with his wife Hilda and entertained his clientele with stories of his exploits as a paratrooper in World War II. When he told of dropping behind German lines to blow up bridges or railroad trestles, then finding his way back with the help of resistance fighters, we were glued to the tales, though we heard more than a few variations of them over their high school years. Whether true or not, the telling in his faint brogue, with his woolly bare eyebrows raised and his eyes wide as he explained his escape, it was great entertainment. If it wasn't busy, he challenged one of us to arm wrestle. His elbow on the bar, Popeye-sized forearm vertical, hand open, ready to engage. He always won. Whenever he poured a can of beer, he'd crush the steel can in his hand before throwing it in the trash. If he poured from a bottle, he'd bend the steel cap between a thumb and forefinger. The only people in the small room immune to Eddie's war stories and feats of strength were Walt and Art. Walt, in a dark blue t-shirt and bib overalls, his right shoulder against the wall, left foot on the rail. Art, in a once white shirt, tails hanging out of his khaki trousers, mirrored Walt's stance at the other end of the mahogany bar. Each had his hand around a mug of beer, which Eddie refreshed at regular intervals. Each communed with his reflection in the bar mirror. Neither acknowledged the other's presence, nor that of anyone else, though they lifted their mugs and drank in unison. Eddie said they were always at the door when he opened at noon and left together at midnight. The three walls, not occupied by shelves of alcohol, and the mirror, contained a mural by the talented son of Helen and Frank, the Empire's owners. It rendered the inside of the room. The booths across the room, against the far wall, were shown above the actual booth. And as one looked from side to side, Art and Walt were leaning on the wall just below their likenesses. When I asked Eddie how long it was painted, how long ago, he thought a bit and then answered, 14 years passed. On May 15th, 1959, several members of the high school baseball team burst in, raucously reliving a win. Leading the pack, I caused a comic accordion collision of the eight behind me as I stopped. Walt and Art weren't there. Eddie explained that when he had unlocked the place that morning, only Walt appeared. Walking to his spot, he downed the beer waiting for him, then moved to Art's place and drank that one. Without a word, he put a 50 on the bar and left. That information held us silent for only a few seconds before we resumed our celebration. A decade later, I returned to the village and the hotel. Eddie's hair and brows were gray, but his physique had not changed. Over mugs of Genesee cream ale, we caught each other up. When I asked about Walt and Art, he said that nobody had ever saw them again. Stocked a third less beer after that, he added. Then we arm wrestled. And yes, he won.